All right. Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to start our new text set this week. I reminded you, or I kind of informed you last week that we would be starting a author study over Duncan Tonatiuh. He is our author slash illustrator, and we're going to mainly focus on his illustrations this week. All of the drawings that he makes for his books, they're very specific and interesting. And we're going to be focusing on how he writes books and uses illustrations to share his stories. Okay. Our first book is this one right here. I know you notice right off the bat that the title is not on the front, but it's on the spine of our book. So this book is called The Princess and the Warrior. So here's our princess, here's our warrior. So what do you think of when you hear the word legend? I know that people can be legends when they've done extraordinary things that are remembered for generations, kind of like Babe Ruth. He's a legend. We know him because of all the fantastic things he did in baseball. Legends can be stories, though. So they can be stories that explain extraordinary events in nature. That's what this book is about. Okay, so it's the first of several books by our illustrator, Duncan Tonatiuh, that I'm going to read to you this week. The title for our story today is The Princess and the Warrior, A Tale of Two Volcanoes. Okay, so this story is set centuries ago in what is now central Mexico when people called the Mixtecs lived there. Okay, so Mixtecs is who they were. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The Princess and the Warrior, A Tale of Two Volcanoes by Duncan Tonatiuh. Once upon a time, there lived a kind and beautiful princess named Ista. Even though she was the daughter of an emperor, she loved to spend time with the people who grew corn in the milpas. She liked to teach them poetry, or flor y canto. Suitors traveled from distant lands to woo her. They presented her with rare and lavish gifts, such as quetzal feathers and turquoise necklaces. They would all say the same thing: "You are the most beautiful maiden in the land. Marry me, princess, and you will live in my luxurious palace. You won't have to spend time in the fields ever again." "No, thank you," Ista would reply. She was not interested in any of the suitors or their gifts. One day, a warrior named Papauca came to see her. "Princess, I know you have a kind and beautiful heart, for I have seen you teaching floricanto to the villagers in the milpas. I don't have expensive gifts to offer, but if you marry me, I promise that I will love you for who you are. I will stay by your side no matter what, as long as Tonatiuh rises, as long as the senzontle bird sings." Popoka's words were music to Ista's ears. She could hear the honesty in his voice, and she fell in love with him. How many qualities do you think Ista and Popoka share? What do you think? Do you think they're similar? Do you think they have the same qualities from what you've heard so far? Let's keep reading. The emperor did not want his daughter to marry a mere soldier. He wanted her to marry a wealthy and powerful Tlatoni, a ruler. But he knew that Popoka was the best and bravest warrior in his kingdom. The emperor and his people had been to war with Jaguar Claw, the Platoni of the neighboring land, for years, and there seemed to be no end in sight. He called Popoka to him. Popoka, the emperor said, if you defeat Jaguar Claw once and for all, I will let you marry my daughter, Ista. Popoka and Ista were overjoyed. Popoka gathered his most courageous men and marched to war. Wow, he really wants to marry her, doesn't he? Let's see what happens. Popoka fought numerous battles. He and his men were injured and almost defeated many times, but when the end seemed near, Popoka would always think of Ista, waiting for his return. He would defend himself with his chamali, attack with his macuajito, and inspire his men to fight with even more courage than before. What do you notice about the illustrations here? What does it tell you about how ancient Mixtec people fought? Did they fight with guns like our people do today? No, we see bow and arrows, whatever this spear is here, even have some other kind of tool that probably used for hitting. Interesting, right? Oh, and I also saw a shield. They also have shields. All right, here's the next one. Slowly the tide turned, and Popoka and his men began winning battles. It was clear that they would soon defeat Jaguar Claw. Realizing this, Jaguar Claw devised a plan to steal from Popoka what the warrior cherished most. He bribed one of Popoka's personal messengers. Tell Ista that Popoka has been killed and offer her this potion, Oakley, to soothe her grief. Uh-oh. So, what does it mean to bribe someone? And how do you feel about Jaguar Claw now? How does that make you feel that he just did this? I know I can tell that he's not an honest person, right? Okay. Everything is lost, Princess, the messenger said sadly when he arrived at the palace. Popoka and his men fought bravely, but they were defeated and killed. No, that cannot be, cried Ista. She looked herself in her no, she locked herself in her chamber and wept and refused to eat or speak to anyone. Poor Ista, she's heartbroken. Look at her. That night the messenger came to her room. I know your heart is shattered as if you were made of obsidian glass, he said, but take this drink, princess. It will help you ease your grief. What do y'all think that drink is supposed to do? Ista took the potion and drank it all. Lying down on her petlatl, she fell into deep sleep. Petlatl. That's an interesting word. Um, let's see. So why do you think the artist made the illustration here of Isla fill the entire spread? Why do you think the author chose to do that? Okay, let's find out. So the next day, before night fell and the first Sitlali appeared in the sky, Popoka defeated Jaguar Claw. Unaware of the lies the messenger had told, the great warrior and his troops marched back to the palace in triumph, ready to share the good news with the princess and the emperor. But when they arrived, they were met with disbelief. Popoka, said the emperor, one of your messengers told us that you were dead. Isla was heartbroken. She took a special octly to ease her pain, and now we cannot wake her. This can't be true, said Popoka. Ista, my beautiful princess, has to awaken. He ran to her chamber. He kissed her and told her and held her in his arms. He called out her name over and over, but Ista did not wake up. Cool air sure Cool air will surely revive her, Popoka told the emperor. He carried Ista through the throngs of villagers who wept as they passed, past the milpas and all through the night to the top of a theptil. So, do you think that Ista will wake up? Why or why not? Okay, so let's find out. He laid her on a satchel bed. He knelt beside her. The cool mountain air soon turned to snow, but still the princess did not wake up. Popoka refused to move. He stayed next to Ista, just as he had promised when he first met her. As long as Tonatiuh rises, as long as the Sentinel bird sings. In time, where once there was a princess with her true love by her side, two volcanoes emerged. One is known as Iztaccíhuatl, or Sleeping Woman. The other is known as Popocatépetl, or Smoky Mountain. Iztaccíhuatl continues to sleep, but Popocatépetl spews ashes and smoke from time to time, as if attempting to wake his sleeping princess. Wow. So now that we see what this legend is about, um, how does this information change how you feel about what's happening to Ista and Popoka? It's a pretty interesting legend, isn't it? Okay, then this is the end. There's an author's note here and then a glossary of all of the interesting words that we had to read today. All right. All right, you guys, thank you guys for listening. That wasn't a very long story, but it was a very special legend. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys tomorrow with another story from Duncan Tonatiuh. Bye, guys.